It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limousine or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans. And this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common, other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar. Today we're at Wayfair on Ferret Street, which is a restaurant and a bar where they serve fine dining in a sandwich. Paul Sanchez, are you familiar with that concept?
I am thoroughly familiar with the concept, although I'm a little light on the sandwich and a little heavier on the
concept side of it.
On the drinking side of it.
Well, the drinking side is good. They have a happy hour here every day from 4 to 7.
It's a beautiful thing. You know what? I did hell and damnation. I chose today to stop drinking for a month because a friend of mine said he had lost 15 pounds by not drinking for a month.
Yeah.
And I walk in, and not only is the show Happy Hour, but it has house-made sangria, which is my absolute favorite thing to drink. So were this not only a 16-minute conversation, I would be at the bar right now ordering a cocktail.
That is a horrible situation. Today is the day.
Yeah, but
Couldn't you put it off till tomorrow, though? Couldn't you put it off and start tomorrow?
I'd be happy to.
We'll get you a sangria. Graham, should we do it?
All right.
Okay, now you're talking. Haley Burns is here as well. Hello, Haley.
Hello.
Nice to see you. I met you once before when you were on Out to Lunch talking about your new thing called Fun 17.
Yep.
Which is going to revolutionize the urban economy.
We're trying.
And on the other side of the scale is PH Fred. PH Fred. PH Fred is here too.
I'm going to gain 15 pounds and I'm going to keep drinking.
Yes,
that's what
good idea. PH Fred is a very interesting story. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, actually, guys. But PH Fred, among other things, is the creator of the song from, when was it, the 1990s, called Kill Barney, about Barney the dinosaur.
Yes.
He's also the lead singer of a band called the Round Pegs.
Yes.
And the inventor of something called the Freducator, which we're going to talk about. And he also just found out today he has an inoperable brain tumor.
Now you're making stuff up.
Oh, what did you actually find out?
I found out I have some tumor in my head. It's probably operable, but...
He actually found out today he's got a tumor in his head.
Well, you know, I was telling Fred that a similar thing happened to me after the flood where I started having seizures.
Did you?
And they found a small tumor in my head, but it turned out to be benign, and the seizures were controlled with medication for several years. And I'm off the meds, and I haven't had seizures.
Knock on, there's a lot of wood around here.
In several years now, so
I'm
wishing them the very best.
Wow, we're off to a good start. Haley, have you got any brain issues?
I sure hope not. Not that I
you don't know of.
Yeah.
Beyond being really intelligent, no.
Right.
Now after hearing this, I might need to go get checked out.
Yeah, I know this is a scary start to the show. So Fred, tell us the background. Well, you went to the hospital today for some reason.
Well, I've been having memory loss. Like I forget to talk into the microphone.
Talk into the microphone.
Exactly. So I've been having memory loss for about a year.
How do you know that you've been having memory loss?
That's funny.
Well, actually, I'm not trying to be that funny, but how do you know?
Well, I have students come to me that I see every day, and I have to ask them who they are and why they're there. I don't ask them why they give me money. I just take it.
That's embarrassing.
And then I was doing a gig.
So wait. Somebody, I will get onto the gig in a minute.
Okay.
Someone walks into the room.
Yes.
Who's a student of yours.
Yes.
They're paying you to be a tutor.
Yes.
Their parents are paying you to be a
tutor. Well, I know
what
the material. I just don't know who the child is.
The kid walks in, and you're like, "Who are you, and what do you want?"
Exactly.
That is a scary. and what do they say when you say that?
No, I do it in a very joking fashion. It's like if a girl walks in, I go, "How's Jesuit today?" And they go, "Oh, I don't go to Jesuit. I go to Mount Carmel."
So you got to figure out a way to get the.
I trick them.
Here's Paul Sanchez's sangria. Very nice. I'm glad that we've been able to postpone your non-drinking for one day. That's a terrible thing, though. You made it like a resolution to quit drinking. It only lasted till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well,
nice.
You know, it's I like to be flexible. If you were rigid, you'd never make it in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. You got to roll
I
with
concur.
it. Okay. So anyway, someone walks into the room. They say, "Hello, I'm here for my lesson." You say, "Who?" Then you figure out by joking around. You figure out their name.
And then once I get their name, I start in the book. They have a book. If they have a math book, hopefully they're there for math too.
So, Jesus, it's that bad. Okay, so you've been pretty concerned about your memory abilities.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the straw that broke the camel's back, I was at a gig playing a song that I wrote. My friend had a hit with my song in Europe. It's a song that's made me money.
What is it?
It's called I'm No Angel.
I'm No Angel.
And when I get to the chorus, my fingers forget how to play the song. And so that was, and then just like that bell just went off. A bell went off in my head. That was planned, wasn't it? And so I went to the doctor and gave them all this stuff going on. And they
said,
started running tests.
And what they do first?
Blood test, because they wanted to know if I had a vitamin deficiency, a medication problem, forgot to talk into the mic, or syphilis. When the doctor said, you may have syphilis. And I go, the people I sleep with don't have syphilis. They have other fun diseases.
The people I sleep with. How many people are you sleeping with?
The dog and the cat.
I don't know if animals
I'm not
can get
answering
syphilis.
that question.
I don't know if they can get syphilis or not, strictly speaking. Can they?
I have no idea. So anyway, long story short, they
Did you
do
know
the-
that? I thought that would
This
be
is
an
the
ACT
strangest
question.
radio show I've ever been on.
Well,
and
people
I've been
often
on some
say
strange
that,
ones.
yeah. People do often
And the
say
strangest part is, this isn't even on the radio.
I
No.
once appeared on a radio show playing the group's hit song behind 6 strippers and a giant naked fat man painted blue named Turd. And this is stranger than that.
Wow, that's quite a compliment,
This
Paul.
is stranger than
What-
turd.
What? Where was that?
It
Not
was in
here.
Chicago for a DJ named Mancow.
Oh, Mancow, yes. So he
Very
was a sort of
famous
a
man, yes.
Howard Stern sound-alike type guy.
Yes, very much so. And we had a hit with a song called Jenny Says, the band I used to be in, Cowboy Mouth.
Cowboy Mouth, yeah, right.
And so we showed up at 5 a.m. at a strip mall just outside of Chicago, and we had to play behind 6 strippers and a giant naked fat guy who was painted blue, and he was screaming at the audience to
Wow.
sing along. It was awesome fun.
I tell you something, that's the power of
glamorous.
it. That's when you're a star on the radio. You can get people to come out at 5 o'clock in the morning, strippers and a guy who will paint himself blue,
Blue, naked guy.
and a rock band. That's a lot of
But
power.
this show's stranger.
Well, so far, it's going to get a little bit stranger right now. First of all, we're going to come back and talk about PH Fred's brain tumor. Then I'm going to get you to play I'm No Angel, unless you don't want to play it. Can you remember how to play it?
No,
Completely
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out by the end of the show.
It's right. Have a look. I see you bought some chord charts and stuff here. I can see why.
Yes.
Well, actually, how did you remember to show up here today?
You called me.
Well, Graham, did I call you?
You called me this
I
afternoon.
don't even remember calling.
Exactly.
I called you back. Do you remember calling me?
No,
Are you serious?
maybe.
You're not really. I mean, you are serious. You don't remember calling me, right? I'll
My
show you.
phone.
I'll show you on my phone.
It's on my phone too. I
Have
don't
a look.
remember- Have a look.
Shit, that's not good at all.
So anyway, so they do a brainwave, they do a
dear.
neuropsych, they do another test.
Yeah.
This morning I go for an MRI at 8:15, expecting results in 3 days. They call me at 9:30 saying, "There's something on your head."
On it.
On it.
Yeah, not in it.
On it, in it,
Did they
around it.
mention-
Which one
do you know-
was
did
it?
they mention the word meningioma, something like
No,
anything like
they did
that?
not.
Cause you've got.
Meningioma.
You know,
That's it.
that's a hard word to rhyme to.
What would that be?
It
Is,
really
is that
is.
what you had?
I believe that was what it's called, and it's like it's a small benign tumor is all it means, you know.
Okay.
And they tested it, and it turned out that
One of my students had a sinus meningioma a year ago.
so
Well, that's
yeah.
what maybe you've got.
That might be what I got.
Where is it? It's not in your brain, you said, right?
No, it's not in my brain. It's somewhere in between my eye and my sinuses, on my cheek.
On your cheek. It's not on, by the way. It's a
Behind.
different preposition. It's
Maybe it's
in.
Well, maybe then it would be bone cancer.
Aren't you meant to be a tutor for?
Well, I'm not a biology tutor.
Well, you know the difference between on and in, surely, because if it was on you,
Betwixt.
we'd be able,
It's
we'd
betwixt.
be able to see it.
It's betwixt
So
the
it's-
skin and the bone.
So how big is the thing?
Yeah.
I have no idea. They haven't shown me
As
the
big as
8
a
by 10s.
grapefruit? Do you
I
think
haven't-
they say?
Oh, I would feel it if it was as big as a grapefruit.
I don't know. That grows in, not out. That's the thing. We can't see a thing. Do you feel anything?
No.
No pain.
I feel distrust from you because you don't believe my fucking story.
No, it sounds awful. They call you half an hour after your MRI. You know you're in trouble.
Exactly. So I'm going back
So
on
we
Monday.
don't know if it's not cancer at this point.
We don't know.
We don't know anything. It could be. This could be the last day on Earth for you. You might not
You
even.
see what we're putting up with?
You might not
Sanjay?
even have a whole day to go. You don't know. You could
I'm
drop.
so glad to be a first-time guest, man, because as an old friend, you're getting roughed up.
Yes.
Seriously, though.
Prison was better than
Seriously.
this. At least they had pie.
Last time you were on the show, you talked about being in jail. That's right, and they have good
Yeah,
pie.
they got good
that was
pie.
a song you wrote. They
Exactly.
got good pie.
It's
there.
it's on
Okay,
the
listen,
record.
you guys. So
We'll
last
move
week,
on. Bother
I
somebody
just want to
else.
go back 1 week. Last week, we had a guest on the show who told us that that she goes to Tanzania a lot. She spends a lot of time in Tanzania, and she works in some sort of a. What does she do there? She's some sort of a music thing. Graham's looking at Graham. You're supposed to remember. So I've got a brain tumor. Oh no, hang on. That's PH Fred. Anyway, on the show she was telling us that she goes to Tanzania, and then I said on the show we have a listener in Tanzania, at least someone who tweeted us and say they're in Dar es Salaam, which I probably don't believe because it sounds like a whole made-up thing. And the person who said that, who sent us this tweet, then wrote us an email during the week and say, hey, I really am in Tanzania. I really am in Dar es Salaam. And my name really is Sophie Lafayette. And here she is right now on Google Hangout. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, guys.
Nice.
How are you doing? I wanted to introduce you to Paul Sanchez,
Hello, Sophie.
Haley Burns,
Hiya.
And PH Fred.
Hola.
This is the last day of PH Fred's life, so be nice to him. Okay, so here's the story.
I'm honored.
So Sophie, so you live in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, right?
Yes, yes.
And you've never been to New Orleans,
No, I haven't.
but you listen to Happy Hour religiously.
Well, it's since I discovered it, yes.
Well, you would have had to discover it before you listened to it, much like religion. It's like, do you ever hear voices?
Generally, no.
Okay, that's good. Let's establish that. So what is your relationship to here, to the city of New Orleans?
Some tenuous links, just like over time, kind of coming across food and music and TV shows, and just more and more kind of being like finding one thing and then discovering something else. And then the more I find out, the more I discover, the more interesting it is. So it's a little bit strange. I can completely understand, considering I haven't been there before, but yes, it's an interesting place.
It is an interesting place. So how long ago did you start discovering New Orleans? When did it all begin?
Well, weirdly, when I was growing up, my mom had this Christmas CD of Cajun music, which is completely random, and then some of those songs obviously are about New Orleans. And then she had a recipe book, and then, yeah, just mostly through the music, to be honest.
Okay.
And then it kind of spiraled.
Is the fact that your real name is Lafayette connected to this at all?
Possibly. The family story is that on my grandmother's side, there's some relatives that are somewhere in Louisiana, so
Yeah,
there
but
may be some relatives.
but how did you
but
get the
it's
how did you get the name Lafayette? Where's your father from?
Well, my name Lafayette was originally my middle name. From my grandmother's side, it was like a surname, which was then given to me.
Okay. So it's not your real
yeah.
family name.
No.
Well, it's from your family,
But it
but
is-
it's not your name on your passport.
Yeah.
And she's not going to tell us
but
that.
It is now my name on my passport.
It is or it isn't?
Because I changed my name like 5 years ago.
Oh, you changed your name.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is your real name now, Sophie Lafayette.
Yep.
Oh,
And
it's
a lot of people assume
very
that-
romantic sounding name, almost like a stripper. Isn't it? Like Dallas,
A
London.
romantic strip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your soul is tied to New Orleans in some way. This life or another life, you pass through.
Well,
I
hopefully,
think so.
hopefully it won't be.
Hopefully-
Paul says it nice. You say stripper. I just wanted to point that out.
Well, he's an artist. I'm just a guy on a podcast.
Okay, whatever works. Whatever works.
So, what do you do in Dar es Salaam?
Strips.
That's a bit of a niche market here, but
there's-
I worked in publishing, and then now I work with tech startups. So
With tech startups. So there's tech startups
Yeah.
all over the fucking world, basically.
yeah,
You
they're
can't
spreading
escape. You
everywhere.
can't even go to Tanzania and not have a tech startup. What do you do?
There's more and more popping up.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? You think that countries would be different, that's why you travel, but then they're just all the same. It's just tech startups everywhere now.
That's two.
Do you have McDonald's and Burger King?
We don't, but we do have a KFC, so
Oh.
that's pretty much.
How come
But
there's
no McDonald's yet.
Why is there no McDonald's in Dar es Salaam, I wonder?
Well, I mean, chicken is a bit more popular here. The burgers, it's like consistency is hard to control, so chain restaurants don't do so well.
What kind of accent do you have? Doesn't sound all that it sounds sort of neutral.
Yeah, well, I grew up in New Zealand, so it's a little bit.
That's what it is. What part of New Zealand did you grow up in?
Auckland.
In Auckland. Okay, all right. And then your parents moved to Tanzania at some point?
No, so my dad was born in New Zealand. My mom was born in Germany, and they moved to the UK, and then I moved to Tanzania eventually.
So you moved by yourself to Tanzania?
Yes.
What possessed you to do something like that?
I've been here on holiday. I've been here to do some research. I had some connections, and then a good opportunity came up. So I kind of thought, I'd been in Europe for a while. I wanted a bit of a change. So
Okay.
I'd come back and see how it would be.
How's it working out? How long you been there?
About 3.5 years.
3.5 years, okay. So the whole thing, what we were going to do was we decided, and I think this was on Twitter, I don't know whose idea this was, we were going to appoint you as New Orleans, it was Graham, I think, Graham DePonte's idea, our producer. We're going to appoint you as the New Orleans ambassador to Dar es Salaam, or East Africa, I think, was the whole.
Yeah.
I think you get the whole of East Africa. What exactly is East Africa? I think I asked that question last week as well. What exactly is East Africa?
It's Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi as well, usually.
That's quite a big territory for you to cover. Can you get around all that area?
Yeah, I think I can cover it.
Do you have a car?
No. But
You don't have a car?
you kind of really need to do plane or bus travel for that.
Okay, we have a passport with the new name on it. So you actually changed your name from whatever it was before Lafayette, is that true?
Yes.
And have you ever been to New Orleans?
No. Not yet.
You just
sending
love
you a
you love
ticket.
the music, or you love the show.
So we were thinking we should try and get you here somehow. That was one idea that somebody came up with during this week. That was Graham's idea, I think.
Yeah, that sounds like an excellent idea.
How much would it cost to fly from Tanzania? Because Paul Sanchez has his checkbook out. How much would it cost to fly from Dar es Salaam to New Orleans, do you think? Do you happen to know that?
It's I don't know. I think to
don't
like
know.
New York from Dar is like, I don't know, $600 or something. But
Seriously?
I'm sure.
What?
We can write a check. For
That's
that.
it?
That's it.
I'm sure to get
I'll put
to,
up
like,
$20 right
College
now.
for New York, it's probably that's like a direct flight though.
Well, from New York to New
sure
Orleans
to
is
go
what,
there.
3?
Yeah, we can get you here for a couple $100 from New York. You call it Dar for short?
Yeah, Dar.
Dar, okay.
I mean, Dar. Yeah.
So Dar to New York is $600. That's damn cheap, isn't it? We can totally do this.
I mean,
we could raise this on this podcast. We could walk around the bar here. There's almost nobody in here. I hope they don't shut this joint down at some point. There's like nobody here at all.
We
You
are.
notice that we're the only people here. It's a little scary, isn't it?
I'm sure by the time that there would be more.
If you came here, it would be a lot more.
That's right,
everybody
then.
would be.
Yeah.
You could come
well,
here
there
with
would be
the
you.
rest of the tech startup strippers. It would be awesome. Well, Sophie, thanks for joining us. We'll figure this out somehow.
Cool.
So
Sounds good.
now that you're the ambassador to East Africa for New Orleans, what should we have you do you think, first?
Yeah, I need some kind of responsibilities, I think.
Yeah, well, what do you think, guys? Fred, before you've got one day left on Earth, what would you have her do?
I would defer to Paul. I'd defer to Paul for that.
I would have her post a video of her favorite New Orleans song of the week to her
Like a weekly
Facebook
thing?
or YouTube page, whatever she has.
Okay, I'll have to write that down now, Paul. Good idea. Song of the week. Can you do that?
I can definitely do that.
Okay, New Orleans Song of the Week. Haley, you must have some good ideas.
What she can do
Yeah, what
for
could
New
you do
Orleans
is-
from Tanzania.
Yeah. Look at your fabulous eye makeup as well. Wow.
Oh, Haley looks fabulous.
Look at
If
that.
this was television,
Now
there would be no
that's- yeah,
choice
really.
who would be the winner of this debate.
That is awesome. What color is that? Bronze or something?
Something like that.
Man, that is
Yeah.
nice. And then the sort of the front part is black.
Mm-hmm.
God, that's
Eyeliner.
really that's like really cool. Do you do that yourself?
I do. I don't have professional makeup
don't have a makeup
people.
person
No,
yet.
I wish.
Make you up before-
Aspirations for one day.
So
Yet. You know,
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
We use the word yet.
Where are you from? Somewhere in Alabama?
I'm from
Mississippi?
Alabama.
In Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone else look like you in that little town you come from?
I don't come from a little town.
Where are you
I come
from?
from a pretty big town, Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, is that big?
Yeah, it's pretty big. We have all the rocket scientists there. It's,
It is rocket science.
yeah. But
Is your family in the rocket science business?
no, my mom's a speech therapist in the school systems
Okay.
In what state?
in Alabama.
There's a lot of
just
names for
Yeah,
that
she's
in Alabama.
got, she's got lots of work to do there.
I'm just pointing out, Alabama, Mississippi.
For his
speech
next
therapy.
joke, ladies
That
and
would be-
germs.
That would be a good gig to be.
Try the viol. Yeah.
Yeah, she's got work to do. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So what can she do for us in Tanzania as our...
I don't know. I'm kind of stumped on that one.
So he covered the music.
Yeah.
There's still food.
Well, you're in the whole micro loan business, right?
Yeah, well, and there's lots more of that going on in Tanzania than there is in New Orleans for sure.
Right. Do you know anything about micro loans, Sophie?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
It's pretty big here.
Yeah.
Well, Haley has the idea to start up a micro. Well, she has already started up. It's called Fund 17. It's a micro loan It's based on the microloan system, I guess, that's in Africa.
Yeah, it started in Bangladesh originally, and
What is it? What does that mean, microloan?
I mean, it's just what it sounds like, giving really small loans. To
Like if I want
those-
$1 to get on the bus, or how small is micro?
Well, it's usually geared to expanding businesses.
I have a business.
So
I own a record
if
label.
You're, if
I'm expanding.
Getting on the bus helps with your business, then I'm sure
Okay.
we can,
no, but when you
manage
say
that.
small loan is like 5,000, 50,000,
It-
5 million.
It really depends on who you're talking with. To us, we lend up to $1,500. In
Okay.
Tanzania, in U.S. dollars, it could probably be something like $100.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was wondering how micro the loan was.
Yeah, it definitely depends.
So,
I need a macro loan.
so $600 in Tanzania is a lot of money?
Yeah. Well, I don't know
Duh.
what's the conversion rate to U.S.
Oh,
dollars.
it's-
Do you know?
It's ridiculous now. Dollars go pretty far.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
So would it take
Well, I
a...
think it's more than the conversion rate. I think it would be like, what does somebody make in Tanzania as well, you know?
What does somebody make in Tanzania? Question for
Yeah,
Sophie?
the average, it varies a lot. Like,
Well,
I
here-
mean, it's also kind of in rural areas. It's pretty low income. But then if you're in Dar, there's people earning like millions of dollars, and then some people earning like a couple $100. a
Well,
month.
we don't have anything like that
A couple
here.
$100 a month.
Everybody earns the same here in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's a socialist system.
Well, Sophie, what do you do for tech startups in Tanzania?
I've been doing some media, press, social media, product development, quality control, like a little bit of everything.
So you're the perfect ambassador.
Yeah, that's
You
what
have
I
the
was
training to
thinking.
reach out to the media through social media, and you can be the greatest New Orleans ambassador that Tanzania has ever known.
Yes. Well put. And Sophie, you've got the ability to get out there with the Kickstarter campaign and get the $600.
I'll definitely try that.
We
Okay.
need to get some New Orleans out to her if she's going to
If
be the
she
ambassador.
could do a music exchange to Tanzania, we got musicians who could travel.
Good
Lots of
idea.
them.
Okay.
Sounds good. We've got plenty of musicians we could send there too. So,
Nice, I like
Okay.
that
Now,
idea.
the music
and
exchange
obviously
thing
I
might
have to
work.
manage them. So
I think that's what
All
she
right.
should do. Music
Set up
exchange.
a music exchange,
Yeah.
like a festival type thing. We could do like that's a pretty good idea. Sophie, could you handle that?
for sure.
She's getting a lot of music. What about economy? Well, you're already in the tech startup business. We have a whole tech startup sector here as well, which actually Haley's involved with.
I'm not so much in the tech startup, but everything entrepreneurial kind of does intersect at different points for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a tech convention during the Super Bowl a few years ago, and these young people from Silicon Valley came to New Orleans, and like many young people around the world have done for generations, they fell in love with the romance and the poetry of the city. And then they realized that the rents here were a quarter of what they were in Silicon Valley, and a lot of them stayed. So there is a lot of startups, a lot of people, techies now living
Yeah.
in town. It's very cool.
So we could probably get you a job, Sophie, if you came over here.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
And we have KFC. Because I know you like that in Tanzania.
It's probably better fried chicken here than
I have a
KFC.
feeling you got better than KFC over there.
Yes, we do.
We have all kinds of fried chicken here, yeah. And we have McDonald's as well. Have you ever been to McDonald's? I guess in New Zealand they have McDonald's, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
all- and
And
all-
I lived in the UK. They have plenty of McDonald's
Right.
there too. So.
Okay, so that's not such a sort of a draw.
There's so much more than McDonald's in the UK.
What-
I love
what-
the UK.
You do?
I do. I love the UK. I know people say the food in England. There's a lot of jokes about that in America, but I loved it. I loved everything about going there.
Do you go over there regularly?
I
now?
wear a key to the Cavern Club around my neck.
the Cavern Club where the
pick.
Beatles played.
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You have that around your neck all the time.
All the
it's like a
time.
souvenir from the Cavern Club.
Yeah, I was when I went there. I was as happy as a 10-year-old, and even mentioning it now, I break out into the same smile.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Just the whole of the UK, or just?
I love yeah.
Liverpool.
I've been in love with the idea of living in England since I was a little boy.
Wow.
Growing up in New Orleans, it's a port town, and the records that the Beatles and those guys fell in love with came out of the city the same way that their music came here through merchant marines, through the ships pulling into
Right.
port. And the draw of the port is strong. I think it was for them because they fell in love with New Orleans music and they fell in love with New York City. And it was that way for me. I fell in love with the idea of sailing to England, the idea of playing in the clubs that I'd read about, that the records that I grew up with were on the jukeboxes in those dive bars.
And did you get a chance to play there too?
It's funny. I went. I've been a few times now, but I went last January and I walked into a bar in Soho, Alley Cats, because some friends said that there's a New Orleans night you got to go check out. And I walked in, and there was this great band, Dom Pipkin and his guys playing, and they took a break, and I walked up, and I said, hey, man, my name's Paul Sanchez. I'm from New Orleans. And he went, Paul Sanchez, we play one of your songs. Would you sing it with us, mate? And I said, I would absolutely sing with you in London.
Oh, my God, how
So
great.
then we did a song of mine called Foot of Canal Street, and it was just fabulous.
That's incredible. Now, who is this Dom Pipkin?
He's a guy who's a huge New Orleans fan. He does he took some lessons with John Cleary at some point, and he really just loves that style of music, and he's very good at it. His band is swinging, and after I played with him in London, he mentioned that he was going to be in town for Jazz Fest that year, so he wound up getting on stage with me at Jazz Fest and playing Foot of Canal Street.
Wow, he's my friend on Facebook, and I don't know who he is. Do you know him? PH?
Never heard of him.
Well, that doesn't mean anything either.
He's a sweet man.
I might have forgot him, man.
He works the London, the British circuit. He doesn't just play London, and his band's really kicking, man. They're really swinging. They love New Orleans in a real authentic way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good story. Sophie, I'm going to let you go because I know it's like, 1 in the morning there or something?
Yeah, something like that.
What time do you go to bed normally?
It depends. Pretty late nights here in Dar, so.
Does a late night hang?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe we should go over
Happy
there.
Maybe we should go there instead of bringing her here.
It is sounding much more exotic, isn't it? Because we don't stay up later here. Most people are in bed by 7 here. A.M.
A.M.
Hey, well, Sophie, I'll let you go to sleep. I know you don't want to stay talking to us. Well, you can stay if you want to, but I know you probably do want to leave. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll have to stay in touch with you now.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll be in touch. PH Fred's pointing at something.
Dom Pipkin.
Dom Pipkin, there he
That's
is.
him,
Yes.
there he is.
Oh, well, you're as quick as ever, I see, Fred. All right. Okay, Sophie, good night. Thank you so much.
Good night,
Good night,
Sophie,
guys.
wherever you are.
Bye. And that was Sophie Lafayette, the New Orleans ambassador to Tanzania and East Africa. What a great story, isn't it?
Fabulous.
Okay, we have to play some music at this point, guys. So who wants to go first? Paul?
Sure.
Fred's pointing at this very gentlemanly of you, Fred. Given that who knows how long you can sit here for. What would you like to play?
Well, I'll play you the title cut off from my latest CD.
Okay, I got the
How
latest
about
CD is in my... What's now Fred took it off me. What's it called?
that? Everything that ends begins again.
The World is Round.
Life is all around you if you open up your eyes and get outside your head, the place that you've been paralyzed, to see that fear cannot appear if you let love come pouring in. Then nothing seems impossible if everything that ends begins again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nothing seems impossible if everything that ends begins again. I see the sunlight fade and the reflection on your face. Shadows like our memories start falling into place. And when the stars come out to play, they dance around us like our friends. If you can imagine it, then everything that ends begins again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can imagine it, then everything that ends begins again. It starts one step, one breath, one day at a time. And if I can't sleep, it's only in my mind. So I count the things I love till I drift away. Then I wake to a new day. Love is everywhere if you just open up your heart and try to not forget the things you knew right from the start. You know, like life is made of moments we hold on to while we can. Time can fly so quickly by, and everything that ends begins again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Time can fly so quickly by, and everything that ends begins again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Time can fly so quickly by, and everything that ends begins again.
Yes.
All right.
Beautiful. So all those years you were in Cowboy Mouth, did you have all this more sensitive side inside you?
Yeah, I mean, I've released 12 CDs, and I believe 7 of them or 8 of them were when I was still with the band. And I was thinking about it today, what a luxury it afforded me to be in a working rock band that was on a major label, and that, for whatever reason, wasn't interested in my songs so much, that I had the money and I had the accessibility to start my own label, to reach fans, and to make exactly the CDs I wanted. I didn't have to pursue any commercial end other than where the muse took me for the moment, because it didn't matter how much they sold. I had an income, and I had a record label supporting this other thing I was doing.
It's kind of like having a day job.
You know, it was sweet in that I look back now and I sent musical postcards to myself throughout my life for the last 20 years, and now I'm, 55 years old, and they come back and you get to feel those moments again in the very words and in the very notes you chose, and it's lovely. And no record company owns it, no publishing company owns it. It didn't clutter up like it wasn't cluttered by what the Mouth records were cluttered by. We got signed to MCA, and Hootie and the Blowfish was big, so we made a record that sounded like Hootie. Then our next record was called Mercyland, and Blues Traveler was big, and they made us make a record that sounded like Blues Traveler. And we got signed to Atlantic, and Bare Naked Ladies was big, and they made us make a record that sounded like Bare Naked Ladies, right down to stealing one of their harmonies, and they were friends and they didn't mind.
How blatant are these conversations? Did the record label actually tell you?
It's the first one we didn't know. We were sort of finessed into making a record that sounded, like Formula Rock. It was produced by John Cougar's guitar player, and who was better at Formula Rock than John Cougar? And so we became this Formula Rock that was fitting into what Hootie did, but they did it with real heart and with real intention, whereas we did it because somebody was saying do it. And and by the end it was blatant. It was like, the Bare Naked Ladies are big, you need to make something that sounds like that.
So how do you do that? Do you go away and write 10 songs that sounds like Bare Naked Ladies? It doesn't sound like you or Fred.
That's not what I would do, but the drummer, lead singer,
Fred,
the other Fred.
Yeah, we all know Fred.
Not
PH Fred. No, the other Fred.
No, he very, very desperately wanted to be as famous a rock star as some of our friends, and he would do anything the labels would ask him to do. We recorded a version of Cher's "I Believe in Life After Love" on a record that didn't come out. We got dropped, mercifully.
So you're saying you weren't singing songs like that behind 6 strippers and a blue man?
We sang Jenny Says behind 6 strippers and a blue man, and we were happy to do it because we were making really good money at the time.
So you do get paid a lot of money to sell out?
Well, very briefly, and it all disappears very quickly.
Well, yeah, that's true of anything, though.
We weren't making a lot of money. We had a tour bus, and we had a nice lifestyle, and we had the illusion of making a lot of money. The people that were managing the band and making the records made the money. We made the music.
So you didn't end up making a whole bunch of money. So
you
end up living a rock star kind of lifestyle.
Right. It's like at the end of Spinal Tap when the bass player is lying in the bathtub with the shower cap on, and the director says, "So you're going to miss the sex, drugs, and rock and roll?" And he goes, "Yeah, not the rock and roll so much, but the sex and drugs. Yeah, I miss that, really."
So do you miss it?
The sex and drugs, really.
Do you, though, really?
Not Cowboy Mouth at all. No, it would be like missing high school. The songs are... Even Griff, when we were playing it, he used to call it Barney Rock.
Small world, Barney.
Kill Barney, yep.
And so, no, I don't miss it at all. I miss Griff. I miss them singing harmonies with him in the back of the bus and going to do acoustic shows together. And I miss the road. I'm probably going to go back to the road, but I don't miss the music because we didn't really make music by the end. We made energy.
The band is still... Yeah, well, that was the whole show, the whole Cowboy Mouth experience is part of the...
There was a time when music was part of it. And it became less and less a part of it, and less fun for me for that reason, But
so it wasn't a tough decision by the end that you just wanted to get out.
The flood had happened. My wife and I lost everything. We had 2 weeks worth of clothes, and we had to start over, and it just seemed like a cartoon. They hired a manager who immediately cut the salaries in half of all the employees that had worked for us for 7 years, and they didn't make much because people in rock and roll just don't. And it just kind of broke my heart that this guy was going to be so hard on the people that loved us at this moment when New Orleans was on its knees, and my heart was broken anyway. And I just thought this was a good time to move on. And I was in a club with the new manager, and we were watching John Boutte sing, and the place was as hushed as a church. It was like such a reverent moment. It was just after the flood, maybe 6 months after the flood, and the club was full of people who needed some healing, and John was giving it to him. You could hear a pin drop. And I turned to him and I whispered, "This moment is what I aspire to." And he looked at me with the coldest eyes I saw and said, "Well, then you better get used to being poor."
Wow.
And I knew that I was in the wrong band and in the wrong place in my career and my life and my music, and I left them and made new music, you know?
Wow. Haley, who's calling?
This is my brand new roommate. I just moved into a new house.
You're
You
supposed to
did?
pick it up
Hey.
for the show.
Yeah, you
Oh, I need
could.
to
You
pick
can
it
answer
up?
if you want to. What's her name?
Her name is Hillary. I don't know if it'd be too much of an interesting conversation.
Did you just move into her house, or is she moving into your house?
We just moved into a new house together.
The two of you.
Yes.
How do you know her?
We met in a history class when I was a student.
And the
Not
rest.
that long ago.
The rest is history.
And the rest is history.
And what's she like?
She's
Does she have?
Cool.
Does she have good makeup?
She doesn't wear much makeup. I think I wear enough for both of us.
You got good makeup. I
Well,
gotta say.
you know what? I think balance in a roommate is good, and you don't want somebody wearing a lot of makeup because it might seem like fun for y'all to get in the mirror together, but all it is space. If
That's
somebody getting in your
true.
space.
That's true.
Somebody not wearing makeup telling you look good. That's a good roommate.
Yeah, that's true. And then I have more time in the bathroom.
Where's
what I'm
your,
saying?
where's your new house? There's only one bathroom.
There's only one bathroom. We live in a shotgun in Central City.
Do you have to put makeup on in a bathroom?
This morning I put it on in my room, so
Right.
it doesn't have to be.
No,
No.
as long as you have a mirror, right?
Yeah,
do you
that's
have,
all you need.
Do you have lights
You live in
around
a
it?
shotgun in Central City. Where in Central City?
In Toledano,
Wow. Which side of St. Charles?
north of St. Charles,
So
but
you
only.
live on the
North.
Central City side.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but only
You're a
wow.
you're
that
a-
means wow. I'm glad to see you now before you live there for
it's
too
just,
long.
I used to go to a doctor in Central City, and I stopped going there because people got shot in the parking lot. So that's why I
Thanks,
stopped going to
guys.
that doctor.
Thanks. Really appreciate
At your
it.
doctor's.
At my doctor's.
At your doctor's.
It's very much a becoming neighborhood, much like St. Claude was 2 years ago. It's
Right.
a neighborhood that's filled with young people like yourself
Right.
and new restaurants and hip theaters, and it's going to be very cool. And it's just traditionally that area of town has been dangerous, as many neighborhoods in America have had drug problems and crime problems. And
Yeah, of course. And we understood
infrastructure
that
problems.
I mean, there's a few places in New Orleans where you can stay.
Yeah.
I could stay in near the university. I could stay in Audubon, but we didn't really want to do that. And everywhere else in New Orleans kind of has some of those problems.
Right.
So you
Well,
kind of
that's-
just accept it and
neighborhood to neighborhood. That's
Yeah,
New Orleans.
yeah,
it always
definitely.
was, and it always will be.
yeah.
Don't go to PH Fred's doctor. You get shot, and then you also find out you have an inoperable brain
But the
tumor.
doctor was free. That was
Well,
that
there
was
was
the mental
that.
health station. In
Was he
Central
really a
City.
doctor, though?
He was really.
Or was he just a guy with a white coat who liked to feel your buttocks?
He often told me to turn my head and cough.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
I wonder if that's what gave you the tumor. Fred, play just a couple of chords behind this while I read these
Yeah,
sponsor
sure.
messages for me, okay? I'd like to thank these following people who make the show possible. Our show today is brought to us by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or you have a crazy schedule, the folks at Petite Pet Care will take care of your pet in his or her own home. For loving care when you're not there, give them a call. Check them out. You can find them at petitepetcare.com. Thanks also to Basics Swim and Gym, a full range of fashion swimsuits, workout and yoga clothes with style. The all-new Basics Swim and Gym is on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. Thank you too to Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Go to the Hangover Destroyer website. It's hdestroyer.com. All you have to do is write happy hour on the custom code and you get 30% off of Hangover Destroyer. And you too can seize the dawn. Also, thank you to unlistednola.com, the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans. If you know what you're looking for, you can find your perfect match before it comes on the market. It's thematch.com of real estate. It's Unlisted Nola. You can find them at unlistednola.com. Music provided by Paul Sanchez and PH Fred. Very nice. I like that. We might have to just keep that and drop that into every show. You guys don't need royalties for that or anything, do you?
No.
Man, I'm sorry I didn't bring my guitar. I feel left
Haley,
out.
can you play it?
No, I don't play guitar at all.
You just own one.
Wait. I was
Maybe
going
if
to
I
make
could
you
just
borrow
hold
one.
one, I would feel more.
Okay, we've got a couple of
useful.
things to talk about. We have to talk about the Fun 17. Don't put that down quite yet, Fred.
Ah, okay.
We're going to talk about Fun 17.
Fun 17.
And we're also going to talk about the Fredducator.
And the
Both-
documentary.
And the documentary. All these three things are fascinating. Wait till you hear about the Fredducator especially, and also Fun 17, which is fascinating. Fred, first of all, they play us a song.
I just played it for you.
Well,
I have to
that
play it
wasn't
different.
really a song. Well, I
Yes,
guess
it was. It was a song
technically.
I wrote with Mike Watt from the Minutemen called
what
Am I
was it?
Man or Pelican?
Am I Man or Pelican? So
But I'll find another
So
song.
PH Fred's band is normally called the Round Pegs.
Yes.
Sometimes it's called Mr. Fred's
Round Pegs,
Round Pegs and Bass Peeps. I can't
We have
figure
22 bass players in the band.
22.
22.
Count them.
There are lots of them.
Why do you have 22 bass players? That's
Well, I was doing a song
extraordinary.
with George Porter called Gone Fishing and I Caught a Bass. It started out with George Porter. We added Mike Watt from the Minutemen. Mike Watt called his ex-wife Kira from Black Flag. They called Tal Wickenfeld, who 16-year-old playing with Jeff Beck. Then one day I get an email from this guy named Mike Balzari who said, Watt told me to call you, signed Flea. At this point my head exploded, and Mike Watt says, you need more bass peeps, right? At current count, we have 22 bass players from around the world.
But these are all superstar
But
musicians.
there's some local bass players as well. Paul
All these
Clement used to play with Cowboy. He's one of my bass peeps.
From Woodenhead.
Woodenhead as well.
Yeah.
So you have 22 bass players in one
Yes.
band.
Yes.
Not
all at
the same time, but
sometimes
you can
we have
call
two or
on
three
them.
at the same.
You do. You have two
It's
or
kind
three.
of like Spinal Tap. Big Bottom. We have three
Does
bass
any
players.
other band in the world have more than one bass player? I mean,
Yes.
I've seen bands with two
Yeah.
drummers.
You know bands with more than one bass player at the same time.
At the same time,
No.
no.
Walking
Right.
the Wild Side, two bass players. You have an upright and a electric bass at the same time.
Because, I had a band where Paul Clement played bass
Right.
and Mary LaSang played bass.
Right.
And so Paul was playing lead.
Right.
And we gave him solos and stuff. And he said that he had enjoyed it, but after 3 gigs, he realized that no band should have two bass players, let alone have a lead bass player. He
Right.
said saying the words out loud had given him stomach problems, and he needed to quit.
The only band I know that's regularly has two bass players is Dose, which is Kira and Mike Watt. It's only bass players.
Hence the name Dos,
Hence
as
the
in
name Dos.
the Spanish word for two.
No, I think they were doing drugs.
Oh, that's
No.
D-O-S-E.
No, it was
I
DOS.
see.
It was DOS.
Okay, so,
You want a song?
well, no, we don't have to, but if you feel like playing something, can you remember the lyrics to anything?
You're a bastard.
Well, I
And you know what the
I'm-
drummer told me the other day?
I'm
he
trying
goes,
to keep your
I'm
spirits up
I'm
for
gonna
the
pick on you
operation.
more now because tomorrow you won't remember I picked on you.
You don't even remember that you called me an hour ago. That's probably true.
Well, I went on down to the petting zoo. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing better to do. I saw an animal there. Dressed in black and feeling blue. This is what they call the emo. It goes E-M-O, E-M-U. It goes E-M-O, E-M-U. Well, his life was a tragedy. He listened to the bard. He read John Paul Sartre and Kierkegaard. He was even stranger than Albert Camus. He was a flightless bird. He was emo. We're talking E-M-O, E-M-U. We're talking E-M-O, E-M-U. He didn't gaggle with a flock. He didn't hang out with the gang. He just hung out with that panda named Ping Pong Tao Chow Pang. Ask him where he's from. He just said, hey you. He was down. He was under. He was emo. He's talking E-M-O, E-M-U. We're talking E-M-O, E-M-U. One more verse. You know, he listened to Fugazi. He kept his CDs on a shelf. He had really long bangs. He cut himself. Peter Tork, Mickey Dolenz, and Davy Jones were flinging poo. But he's not a monkey, no, no, no. He was emo. We're talking E-M-O, E-M-U. We're talking E-M-O, E-M-U. Last time we're talking E-M-O, E-M-U.
Oh, that's beautiful. PH Fred with backing vocals by Paul Sanchez, the Emu song. You had me. I
had you at emo.
I was with you all the way right up until the monkeys start throwing shit around. What made you write that lyric?
I don't know.
At the end of that thing.
that's
It was
what
all so
monkeys do.
nice up to the.
Well,
the monkeys. Really?
Monkeys fling poo, don't they? If you go to the zoo.
I hadn't thought of that. Did you figure that out, Paul?
Yeah, the monkeys.
I hadn't thought of
Monkeys
that.
fling poo.
Haley, had you figured that out?
I mean, I understood the pun when he sang it.
You
if
did.
That's what you're
I went
asking.
right over my head.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If you
That
were
is
lucky, so did the poo.
And I like the way you said that, Foley.
a great song, PH Fred. Very nice.
On the greatest hits record.
And there's absolutely no chance that you have a brain tumor if you could remember all those lyrics.
Right.
Now, I wouldn't worry about a thing.
Yeah, I was wondering
That's
if you
nothing.
were making that up as you
Yeah.
went
No,
along.
That was actually written and recorded that way.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with you at all. So let's talk about the Freducator.
Yes.
Because this is a real deal. As you can probably tell if you've never met Fred before, he's a strange guy. Not only is he sort of intellectual, but he's off as well.
Thank you.
So the combination of these abilities have come together in an app called the Freducator, which you can describe this better than I can, but if you do this, if you're sitting the ACT and you use this app, you're guaranteed to raise your score by up to 10 points.
Up to 10 points. Most kids that use my app or my situation go up 2 points. Some kids have gone up 10 points, like from a 20 to a 29 or a 20 to a 30. Had a girl, not too bright, went from a 20 to a 25, and then from a 25 to a 29. I had one kid only went from a 28 to a 30, but 28 was a scholarship, was admittance to Rhodes. A 30 was a scholarship to Rhodes. They only gave him 9 out last year, $250,000.
So I have a question.
Yes.
What's a guarantee up to 10 points? 'Cause
Well,
doesn't that guarantee
that's his,
you?
he said that.
Oh, that's how you say that.
He said that. I don't.
Because I can be guaranteeing nothing, right?
Right.
Is there a guarantee?
I don't know.
If you use the app, are you guaranteed to increase your
I
ACT score?
don't know. I have to talk to my business partner for that.
Well,
And it's micro loan.
but you've developed this. So this is
Yes.
not some sort of a money-making scheme. This is for real.
I've been using this method for 18 years. I was tutoring in a coffee shop, and this guy I used to work with when I was doing educational software 20 years ago said we need to make this into an app. And so it just finally got released after a year and a half of beta testing and all. It hit the stores last week.
It's just come out right now.
Just came out
it's
last
called
week.
the Freducator, but it's only on the
It's
app, at the
iPhone,
App
but
Store.
it's going
iPhone
to be
only.
on the Android within 6 months.
Okay.
And there's also going to be an SAT one, a PSAT, MCAT, LSAT,
Okay. So this
blood
is
test, urine test, drug test. I'm going
this
to teach
thing-
you how to take a urine test. Eh?
this thing though. This is not just a study guide. This is not like Cliff Notes. This is a system.
It's a system
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
by the app. No,
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to sit the ACT probably, but just what's
it's part of it's technique. It's three things. 3 things.
Okay.
50% of the program is building the kid's confidence, because most kids have fears for tests because schools, parents, and whatever. This is the most important test you'll ever take, and the first thing I tell a kid is a piece of paper with ink. Are you afraid of paper? No, I'm not afraid of paper. You afraid of ink? And one kid goes, if it's coming out of an octopus.
That kid
Very-
sounds like he's going to get a scholarship.
It's gonna be a
by the way.
scholarship. And then 25% is material, because what they teach you in school is crap you don't need to know. They teach you 257 punctuation rules. There's only 10 on the test. So we worry about the red zone. And
So you pick some
yeah,
material.
well, I know the material that's on the
Right.
test.
Oh, you know what's going to be in the test.
I know it's on the test.
Well, that's an
I have
advantage.
dreams. I'm the Nostradamus of standardized tests. And then the other 25% is like techniques, like how to do process of elimination, how to plug in and stuff like that.
That's the key here.
That's the key.
So half of it's confidence building.
Yes. And
Which
then
is-
25% is what material to study, what material to ignore.
Right.
And then 25% is
Is this-
technique. It's finessing it.
And the technique is the Freducated.
No, all of it
PH
together.
Fred.
All of it together. It's the package.
No, but I mean the technique is what you've figured
Yes.
out.
Yes.
That's what you're paying for, really.
Sure.
Oh, and the material, I suppose,
Yeah.
as well, because it would be good to know what's in the test.
Well,
that
the
would
thing is, if you
narrow
buy
it
a
down.
Princeton review book, it's 600 pages long.
Right.
This is 75 flashcards that you can go over in 20 minutes.
75 flashcards. That's it, and I can raise my
And
ACT
you can raise your
score
AT score up to.
up to 10 points.
Guaranteed up to 10
Well,
points.
you've had kids raise their score up to 10
Yeah, I've
points.
had kids raise the score 10.
And the average person who uses this app raises their score by 2 points.
Yes.
And it only costs what?
$4.99.
So
And
ha-
my students, I give them a rebate. If my students buy it, I give them the $5 so they make a penny.
How are you making money on that?
You're
so
a genius.
I'm a genius.
has anybody bought one yet?
I don't know, 50, 60 kids in the past week.
Okay.
It's only been out for 3 days.
Right. So, really? So how do you get the word out?
That's what we pay the marketing people for. I don't.
There's
do
a
that
billion.
shit.
There's a billion apps out
You
there.
see, you had the marketing person in Tanzania. You could ask that
Yeah, we
question.
should.
Oh,
That's
right,
what we
we
need
should've-
Sophie to
okay.
get in for.
We'll get her back. I'm sure she's still up.
Exactly.
So Fred.
She's still on. She's still on. We could ask
She's
her.
still on here. Fred, what's the deal then? So you get this thing out there. It's $4.99,
right.
which is pretty expensive for an app, but pretty cheap if you're going to
Well,
have
if
a
you-
whole
if-
life-changing
well, if
college.
indeed you buy an ACT book, it's $30. If you take an ACT course, it's $2,000.
Wow.
That's what people pay.
Is that right?
Tutors in San Francisco, which is the most expensive city in the country, it's $200 an hour for an ACT tutor.
So you're going to put all those people out of business for real?
Yes, for
you
$4.99
could.
I could.
You totally could.
I would.
This will work just as well.
That's what we're gonna do.
You are the automatic teller demonstrator machine of your generation.
Definitely.
Closing down the banks. This is really going to. This works though, and it's
Yes, it
out
does.
there. This
We
is exciting.
We bullshitted about it last time, but now it's
Right.
real.
But it really, and it's so. Could be if this works and people buy this and their ACT scores go
Right.
up and everybody loves it. You stand to make a huge amount of money.
Well, let's put it this way.
Supposing you live.
Or my wife or my kids or whatever. So the kid who went from a 28 to a 30 got the $250,000 scholarship. Said, "You're going to be rich." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "How many people take the ACT?" And I go, "I don't know." She goes, "Everybody." That's 1 million students a year.
Yeah.
Well, she's right about that.
Right. So
That's, that the word is going to get out about that kid. It's like a baseball coach who starts out with, 12 clients and maybe 2 of them are real prospects.
and then Will Clark goes to the World Series.
And
boom.
then that baseball coach has a career.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, do you get
testimony?
testimonial from this person with the $250,000?
And my favorite quote, she goes, "Mr. Fred knows the ACT better than the ACT knows itself." At 17, she's writing copy better than people in
That's
Manhattan.
nice.
It was like,
Well, she got herself. You get $250,000 to go to school now.
it's for 5 years
Rhodes
of college. it'll be
scholarship.
Is that what it costs?
Rhodes University, yeah.
Rhodes University.
Yeah, it's 50 or 60,000 a year.
Yeah, the average college is that. It's crazy.
Average college is 49,000 a year.
Well, I'm no math whiz, but that doesn't add up to 250 either.
All
does
right,
it?
60,
That would be
65 would be
65.
All right, do the
Say
math.
4 years. That's like 4 5s are 20. That's like 220,000. Is that
Throwing
right?
housing, food, books.
When you
all that
throw
kind of
it
stuff.
more.
Yeah, there's other stuff involved.
So
you're
that-
just being the
So
dick.
everybody, so everybody who goes to college, Haley, you just graduated from college
I did.
right
How
much-
now,
how
like
much
this
debt were you
year,
in?
right?
I'm sorry.
You just graduated this year,
I
like
did.
now.
I
How
did.
much was it a year?
Tulane, I think, is about 60,000 a year.
Holy shit!
So
So
that's
you're
$240,000.
And you went forward. Did you?
I went for 4 years. Thank God I got out in that time.
so you're $240,000 in the hole now. Quarter of
In
it.
theory.
Well, Tulane gives out fairly healthy scholarships.
Oh, you had a scholarship.
So
I
every,
did.
everybody
That's where I
gets.
went.
If I had Freducator, I might have gotten even more money, but I didn't.
Does everyone get a scholarship?
No, those are the people you look at like, oh, you're here on. Oh my God, you must be so
I-
rich.
I
Oh
went
my
to- I went
gosh.
to Tulane on scholarship. Right?
You went to
No,
Tulane on scholarship.
no,
as well?
you-
My master's.
No, you look at the people that don't have
don't have
scholarships.
scholarships, yeah.
Like, holy shit,
They're
you have
pa-
to be so wealthy to be
Oh, yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
So how many people are paying $65,000?
I don't know those statistics. I don't know those, but
Oh, I thought you would.
no, sorry.
What is-
I'm done. I'm done. I'll deal with my debt in 6
Do you know
months.
what the enrollment is though at the average for Tulane? Do you know how many students?
Do you know how many people? How many
Yeah.
people are at Tulane? This is my boyfriend back here who
Yeah,
also
undergrad-
graduated
undergrad
from
program,
Tulane.
yeah. 6,500 people at $60,000.
Do the math on that one.
Yeah.
PH.
Yeah.
A lot.
That's a
Well, they are
master's
the
degree
biggest.
at work there.
They are the biggest employer in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Tulane University. So
Yes,
I
they
guess
are.
they have. Them.
Oshner is another big employee
That's true.
because they own everything.
I think Tulane owns more property in New
Right,
Orleans than
probably.
anybody else. Something. And the good thing is it's non-profit, so they don't pay property tax. So that's
right.
awesome.
That's a great thing.
Yeah. So anyway, so you graduated with a degree in what?
History and international development.
So nothing to do with microloans, which is now what you're doing.
Well, international development is where the microloans came out of, because what that discipline looks at is basically how to solve problems that are occurring in the developing world, and that's where the micro lending idea came from. So I knew I was interested in going into that kind of field before I went to college, and had kind of learned about micro lending then, and then once I came to New Orleans, started to actually dive into maybe having it happen here.
So you've made the connection, the correlation between the third developing world and New Orleans economy?
Oh yeah, I mean that was something I realized very quickly when I got here. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm an international development student, and I'm in a developing city.
Boy, no kidding.
There's so much work to do.
Wow. Yeah.
What's the connection? I mean, on the ground.
What do you mean by that?
Well, what is other than the streets with the
I mean,
the
that's a
holes in
big
them?
thing. I mean, we have a corrupt government. We got poor infrastructure. We got poor education. Public health problems. I mean, it's
what brought me home. I'm not kidding, man. After the flood, my wife and I lost everything, and we met these people that owned a resort in Belize on an island, Ambergris Key, San Pedro town. So we went and we stayed with them. It was supposed to be 2 weeks, and the night before we left, I quit Cowboy Mouth, and we went and lived there for 3 months. And we had no intention of coming back. We thought, we'll just stay here. We had lost everything. We have nothing. Let's just start over. Life was like a do-over. And we were there for like 2 months and relaxing one evening, just watching little kids walk by. And I turned to her, I said, man, I just love it here. I just want to stay. The pace is slow, and people like to eat and drink and dance more than they like to work. And, the place is a little corrupt. You can buy your way around. I miss New Orleans. I got to go home.
There's definitely something to be said for that, and that's why I think I'm pretty happy
I was in a third
here.
world country where they like to eat and drink and dance. I knew I had to come home.
Yeah.
What is there to be said for that?
I think there's something to be, there's
Not
there
really.
there's problems where you want people to be able to be educated and get a job and make a life for themselves, and that's something that the people that are solving the problems are trying to look at. But here in New Orleans, there are those commonalities where if you go to what we consider the developing world, which is a pretty vague term, but if you go to those places, you do have this kind of similar pace of life in New Orleans, and I think it's you just accept that there's problems here, and we're just going to kind of make life work.
Couldn't we have that pace of life without the corruption and the defunct infrastructure and the shitty education?
Nah, then we'd just be America, man. Then we'd just be America.
Then it would
But
be
we
Canada.
say that.
It would be Canada then.
I think it's a very of the moment topic here in New Orleans, because we're seeing the city change so much as so many people like myself are coming into New Orleans and after the storm and wanting to solve these problems, and people are saying, wow, all the grit is leaving our city, and like all of these things are changing, and it's kind of like a cost benefit analysis, like what are we losing?
That's been an ongoing debate for a couple of years now,
Yeah.
but I got to tell you something, man. As a guy who was born and raised here, for me, the only people complaining about the young people changing the city since the flood are people who moved here from somewhere else.
Right.
Because if you're a New Orleanians, you understand that for 200 years, America has been coming here to try and change us. And when they first came down the river, it was people from Kentucky, and the French called them cane tocs. And they didn't like these American cane tocs. They were loud and crude, and they were Protestant, and they didn't know how to party. And the Americans came down and they said, well, we don't like these French. They're Catholic, and they're decadent, and they're lazy, and you know what? We're not even going to live on the same side of town. So Canal Street, we don't call it medians in New Orleans.
It's called the neutral ground.
Because it's the widest neutral ground in America, the widest median in America, because it's the only place where Americans and the New Orleanians, the French, would shop and eat and hang out together. Other than that, you stay on your side of town, and we'll stay on ours. So for 200 years, they arrive, they hit the swamp, they sink to their knees, the humidity wipes them out, we give them a big meal, we give them way too much to drink, they wake up in the morning and we say, we'll take your kale, we'll take your business enterprise, listen, you want to get drunk again, stay, if you want to sober up, go back to America.
And
We
the
don't-
thing,
Hi,
and
nice.
the thing is, the neutral ground wasn't just that. It's like my father was German, my mom was Italian.
Yeah.
And the place you did business was on the neutral
neutral
ground.
ground.
Yeah.
The Irish Channel, you had Germantown and all that. So that concept, and I disagree with you where you said people here are trying to change it for the people, like you said, have always been trying to change it.
Always.
Yeah,
And
I know.
it's not just post-Katrina. There was that group in the 70s, there was that group in the 60s, there was that group and it goes back to the
Anybody
Yeah,
can
I
come
mean,
down and
people-
be industrious for a year.
People are always
Keep that
coming
pace
and
up for 3
trying
years of
to
drinking.
affect where they're living. I'm not saying that it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a new thing that people
Right.
are coming and trying to
It's
solve problems, but it's definitely there's a new wave of like concentration because of this storm.
Well, there's a new
It's a new
wave
wave.
of people your age all around the world
Yeah.
who aren't going to buy the old game.
Right.
Because it's been a politics, not just in America, but around the world. It's been a politics of corporations controlling what the mouthpieces say. And the people your age, they don't believe in the old dreams. The Catholic Church is having to adapt what their guy says because the young people just aren't buying how harsh things are supposed to be. The young people have access to information, and they're going to ferret it out for themselves and decide whether or not this politician's full of stuff or the other guy's full of stuff. And I think my hope for the future is that the people your age who do have access to information and do start out with empathetic hearts don't have to sell out their empathetic hearts to the corporations that control their dreams like we had to in our youth, whoever you are, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, musician, and that you guys changed the world just by doing the right thing, just by going about your business of work, and not through any grand revolution, but just by thinking this is the way things should be.
Yeah, that's also my hope. And I think it is important to view these changes within the context of things, and that's a conversation that I've started to kind of hash out in my own brain as we look at, gentrification as this big issue, and and it is something like how you guys are saying, it's not really something brand new. Cities have always gone through different identities and characters, and so it is important to kind of view that in context. But I also do have to understand what my place is and all of that as I'm coming into this city, and starting my own organization. The heart of our mission is trying to give a voice to the people that have had heritage in the city and are trying to, we're trying to give a voice to those that their livelihoods are what makes New Orleans, New Orleans.
And once again, going back to what you said, the people who complain about the quote gentrification aren't New Orleanians. The people who complain about LA not being LA aren't from LA.
Yeah.
People who complain about New York not being, usually the people who there are just there.
And traditionally, and it's a cliche, but it's a true one, we're a melting pot.
Right.
And people like yourself that come here with industrious ideas and inevitably fall in love with the culture.
Right.
And instead of changing the culture, they bend their dreams to the culture.
Right.
So that they can blend in and be a part of it.
Right.
And make New Orleans their life. And I think that those are the people who stay, and that's the future to me. It's the face of the city changes, and it has changed, and it always will change, because that's just the way life goes. We don't change, we die. My hope is that people that come here like yourself, the young people, come whatever their business is, doctor, loan officer, come with that romance in their heart, that poetry in their heart, because that's how it remains. It remains because it's in the heart. It's not on the streets. It's not in the grit. Those people are poor not by choice. The people, the cultures that we speak about with such reverence, they're not poor by choice. They're poor because that's where they were born into, and that's what America, not New Orleans, has cast them to live. And unlike the rest of America, instead of turning it into violence and anger, they turn it into a joyous celebration of second-line parades, or social aid and pleasure clubs, or Mardi Gras Indians, or whatever it is that you need to do to remember that, yes, we are all sad, but let's all be sad together and dance and sing and
But
celebrate.
I think that's what people are scared, that this kind of new wave of people coming to New Orleans are going to change. That's what's been voiced to me, that this grit's leaving, and that there isn't going to be this uniting force to create all of these beautiful things that New Orleans has created in the past.
As a fellow historian, my background's classics, like Latin, Greek, and Sanskrit, and all that ancient stuff. And I recognized a pattern studying history from the ancients up to the modern times. You adopt and you adapt.
Right.
Whether you're a conquering people or someone who's coming to meet the people, you adopt what you like, you adapt it to your needs. We go to a country, there's iron. Well, we're going to use it to make the tools we need. Gunpowder, we used it to whatever, whether it's the culture or the tools or whatever, you adopt it and adapt it. It can't stay stagnant. So you're fresh blood. You take that culture that's here and pass it forward. You don't kill it, you pass it forward. The mistake that Americans made is we killed the Native Americans. We tried to hold the blacks down. We tried to do different things. New Orleans, and every fucking port city there is a melting pot. San Francisco, New Orleans, Toronto, New York, London, all those places where you have ports, that's where the culture prospers, because it's understood that you need to trade. The journey across the ocean is the best part of the trip.
Right. I would say to your friends and colleagues that worry about the city changing is to go out and experience those very things that you worry about it losing. Because I was at Trumpet Black's second line, and it was a phenomenally glorious celebration of life, of his life. I've never seen more young brass band players out playing. He did not die by an act of violence. This was not a young man who went by an act of violence. This was a young man in his prime who went by an act of fate after overcoming incomparable odds to be vibrant and powerful and beautiful. And this second line was a celebration of that. It was a celebration. These kids were playing because they knew it could have been them. And maybe from violence, but just because of life. And they know in that moment it doesn't last long. And to watch them play to his family as they went past his house, and to watch his family accept that honor with dignity and beauty and joy in their hearts, and to watch that parade disappear into the neighborhood with his friends, with his loved ones. And I don't know, that's a part of the culture, knowing that somebody that loved him was going to dance on his casket to make sure that he felt it on the other side. They can't take that away.
Yeah.
It exists in corners where the people that are worried about it disappearing from, they don't even know those corners exist. And it's going to be there. And it's going to be there because Trumpet was only 28 years old, Black was. And his friends aren't going to forget that moment. They're going to aspire to that moment. People live to be sent off that way. You know, you can live your whole life on nothing, on eating red beans and rice for $5 a plate and playing your music for whoever shows up. And you get that send-off, you know that you lived right. And those guys believe that in their heart, and you can't change that. You just can't. It's here for over 100 years. It's going to be here 100 years from now, long after the people worrying about it have moved away because the water got too high.
Well, it's very hopeful to hear those kinds of things.
Go to a real second line. Go to a funeral, you know. Go to where people are.
The day I was moving in, like I said, I just moved to Central City, and had the U-Haul in front of my house, and there was a huge second line.
Was it a party, though? Because there's a difference. Now, the party second lines are great, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
But a funeral's,
No, it wasn't on a funeral. It was on a funeral. I think it was, it had rained a lot that day, and everyone, the traffic was bad, and everyone just started setting up a grill on the corner of the street and started a party, because what else was there to do?
Also a joyous moment.
Yeah,
indeed.
that was a pretty cool thing to see.
Because that's New Orleans, and kids, that's happy hours all over.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us, Paul Sanchez. I couldn't have had a better time than hanging out with
I'm
you. Thank
so,
you very much.
You know, I was a last-minute addition because somebody wrote me from Hawaii to say, can you do this?
Christian, our music director.
And listening to the grilling that PH Fred got today, I was so glad you didn't know more about me, because I've never seen a DJ more experienced at being outrageous and charming at the same moment.
Wow, thank you very much. That's a very kind thing to say. Haley Burns, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
too.
you for
can
having
find out
me.
more about you at fund17.org,
Yes.
or just Google Haley Burns, Fund17, or Bronze Eyeliner.
I have to work my way up to Google knowing that that's
Okay,
synonymous
and PH
with me.
Fred, thank you so much for coming here on possibly the last day of your life.
phfred.com.
phfred.com to find out more about PH Fred, or to put something in his obituary to remember him
What an
by.
asshole.
And special thanks. I'm sure you're fine. I don't think there's a thing wrong with you. I'm sure that's a bullshit sort of.
Yeah, it was
MRI.
It was for me to get on this show.
It is a great story, though, to have the doctor call you 5 minutes after your MRI and tell you need to get in.
Last year
They didn't
I
even
was
tell-
having a heart attack when I was on your show.
That's right. You were booked to come on the show and you had a heart attack and couldn't make it.
Right.
This time you've got an inoperable brain tumor.
You may want to just do another show.
Third time. Yeah, right.
I'm going to call up
Aren't there
Scoot.
other shows?
I'm going to call up Scoot in the morning and see if I can do that.
Scoot doesn't have any sort of bad stuff on his show. Sophie Lafayette from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, who joined us also as well
was
today.
very exciting.
She is great. She is the official New Orleans ambassador. Wow, what's that noise? Ambassador to East Africa. Thank you so much, everybody. That's Happy Hour for another week. Our producer is Graham DePonte. Our technical producer and associate producer is Chris Kehoe. Christian Unruh, as we were just talking about, as our music director. Our theme music was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. If you'd like to be on the show, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, itsneworleans.com, where you can also check out plenty of other happy hours to listen to and some other shows we make here at itsneworleans.com. Out to lunch with Peter Raschuti live from Commander's Palace. Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic. True to the Game with the fabulous Chris True. Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the Man Who Ate New Orleans. Ray Canada, Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tooker. Milo's Music Parlor with Kim Vu. And The Revolutionary New Way to Buy a House in New Orleans. Unlisted Noel. You can find that on itsneworleans.com as well. Keep up with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well. And all of it, we're called It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show, see what we all look like. That's on itsneworleans.com, our website, and on our Facebook and Google Plus pages. Those photos are taken today by Dion Grayson. Thank you very much for joining us. Dion, if you listen to this show on iTunes or Stitcher or some other podcast app that you prefer, take a moment to stop and rate and review us. That helps other people find us. And thank you for subscribing to us. Our show is recorded live today at Wayfair on Ferret Street, where they put fine dining into a sandwich and fine booze into a glass. Paul Sanchez had his first drink in an hour.
In
a
7
day.
hours.
In 7 hours. Please, are you going to start tomorrow again?
I'm going to start tomorrow
Start tomorrow with a month off.
with a month off.
And you're trying to lose how many pounds?
15 pounds.
15 pounds. You'd have to drink a whole lot of booze to lose 15
I
pounds.
asked him, and it wasn't any more than I drink. So,
Really? How much
yeah.
do you
And he
drink?
didn't drink beer.
What do you
Which is the
drink?
amazing part. I drink beer, but I also like to drink whiskey and wine.
So how much do you drink a day?
Well, my doctor asked me that question, and I said to him, because I was worried, am I drinking too much? And I said, I might have like 3 or 4 drinks in the evening. And he said, well, that's fine. You're from New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's my doctor.
So if you stop drinking 3 or 4 drinks a day, you can lose 15 pounds in a month.
Supposedly.
You want to come back in a month and see if that's
Let's
true?
see.
Let's do it. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. For Andrew Duhon, who will be back next week. I believe he's on the road somewhere. If you want to find him, go to andrewduhon.com. Thank you very much to everyone sitting around the table here at Wayfair, everyone back at our office at INO Broadcasting. I'm Grant Morris. I'll see you back here next week on Happy Hour.
Farmers Insurance knows that there's a not-so-subtle difference between the sound of a car hitting your rear bumper and the sound of a clown car hitting your rear bumper.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Sorry about that. Here's a balloon animal. And my information.
We call that a 3-ring fender bender, and we covered it. At Farmers,
They know a thing or two because they've seen a thing or two.
click for more.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.